But man, the haters of LeBron need to just be silenced, because it is what this man is able to accomplish is above, it's just the history of the NBA will look at LeBron as just one of the greatest of all time. And when it's silly to try and make these comparisons, you don't have to say, is he better than Michael Jordan? He is a different beast. Michael Jordan played a different game. LeBron James plays a different game and has accomplished different things. LeBron has been able to go around to different teams and bring them to the promised land, to bring them championships. To ignore the sheer awesomeness of that is just, it's blasphemy of the game. Like, you can't.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, ChadBurn, and we are back at it for another week of the ChadBurn Show. Had a wonderful week 5 in the NFL. A lot of interesting storylines to discuss, especially coming from the NFC East and across the NFL. The Eagles unfortunately lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 38-29, and really what was a heartbreaking defensive performance by the Philadelphia Eagles. And we also have a wonderful storyline of the NBA Finals. It has come to a conclusion. LeBron James is again victor in that he is walking away with his 4th NBA title and his 4th NBA Finals MVP title as well, doing it with 3 teams. We'll go deeper into the NBA Finals, look at the numbers and the players and the matchups that were key to the success for the Los Angeles Lakers. Discuss a little more about that Eagles loss to Steelers, and then, like I mentioned, we have some headlines we need to look at NFL and across Week 5, some big games that we had. But, it's just happy to be back here with this. It's up here in Canada. Today is, because it's Monday the 12th of October. It is Canada Thanksgiving. So, obviously, we had a nice long weekend there to enjoy, and really just made the watching football and getting to see all these sports and the amazing games that are going on. French Open also ended with Nadal winning that one. Just plenty of sports to enjoy for a nice long weekend. So, happy to get back into saddle and hit with another episode. But before we get into the numbers for the NBA Finals and the Eagles and the Steelers, I wanted to talk about the headlines across the NFL, since there was some big ones that we need to discuss. Number one, obviously, is the loss of Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Cowboys. He is out for the rest of the season with a compound fracture and dislocated ankle. Oof, if you saw the video, it was not for children. That was a brutal break in the ankle there. As he's going down and being tackled, you see the ankle get caught, rolled up, and it just pops, and it comes out, and it's hanging there. Oh, could not eat before seeing that, but really, it's just an absolute shame. As an Eagles fan, obviously, you want to see the Cowboys get put into a tough situation, but you hate to see a player of Dak Prescott's caliber get, succumb to an injury like that, because that's a tough one to come back. I mean, we'll talk later. We've seen Alex Smith come back from horrendous injuries of the leg, but Dak Prescott, unfortunately, needing surgery to fix that ankle, and because the bone actually pierced the skin, he's also at a higher risk of infection down there. So we do wish him a speedy recovery and hope all the best for him. But really insane. That was a really sad one and a big derailment for the Cowboys. We'll have to see how they go. But luckily for the Cowboys, they did have Andy Dalton as the backup, and Andy Dalton came through for them, leading them down on a game-winning drive to take the lead over the Giants 37-34. A close one as well. The Giants with Danny Dimes, they thought they had a chance. They were against that Cowboys defense. Anything could happen. Another high-scoring game, 34-34 until the final drive. But the Cowboys walk away from that and take first place in the NFC East with a record of 2-3. Next storyline I want to talk about is obviously Alex Smith making his first appearance since the horrendous break in his leg. This is a little bit of NFC East news for the first 2 ones, but Alex Smith did come in at the end for Kyle Allen for the Redskins to relieve after a big blowout loss to the Rams. He came in throwing 17 passes, 9 completions for 37 yards. Just happy to see the man out there on the field. As we all know, he suffered that horrendous broken leg in 2 places as well as surgery. Almost lost the leg because of infection that occurred there after the sack from J.J. Watt. Really, he's been out for 2 years almost, Alex Smith, recovering and making a miraculous comeback to the NFL. So kudos to him and to see him on the field. Also had a look at the Raiders beating the Chiefs. The Raiders end up being able to take out the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been red hot throughout this whole season. Carr throwing 347 yards and really just showing that the Raiders are no joke. defense came through. Josh Jacobs had himself a big game. Derek Carr, obviously. Henry Ruggs III, huge, over 160 yards on the day. I mean, really, the Raiders, they look like they got potent offense. And if the defense can continue to come through and at least making key stops like they did and some key turnovers, Raiders could have themselves a big season. John Gruden having himself a season as well, really coaching his ass off. Impressive all around. So got to give it to the Raiders, and Derek Carr come through with that. Next up, Wilson gets his 30th career game-winning drive versus the Vikings. That is now the most for all the active since Russell Wilson came into the league, with those 30 career games for any of the active quarterbacks right now since he's come in the league, 2012. But Russell Wilson has really just been out of this world. I mean, every game he's played so far, we know that he's going to get touchdowns when he needs to. He's been able to come from behind. He's able to seal games late. I mean, no matter what his defense gives up, no matter if the run game stopped, Russell Wilson's going to get it done. So absolutely incredible with late throw to DK Metcalf. Absolutely just insane. Love watching the Seahawks right now. And unfortunately, the Vikings give up another one. After having a 13-0 lead going into the half, the Vikings lose it to the Seahawks. But, a rainy weather in Seattle, you kind of felt that's leaning towards Seahawks. It's in their kind of turf. It's in that kind of weather is what they like. So, you had to think that there was going to be advantage when it came to the end of the game. Finally, Browns, the big story I want to end on. They are now 4-1 in the season. Cannot believe that the Browns have a winning record and are tied, I believe, atop the AFC North. Just a feel-good story. But again, Baker Mayfield doing all right, but he's got the weapons around him to help him out. I think that he still has a long way to go to becoming a great quarterback, but he's showing that he can have some poise. He has some leadership out there. Odell Beckham Jr. is finally coming back after a so-so season last year. He is killing it this year. Threw for a touchdown this game as well. Obviously, Hooper has been doing great as a tight end receiving that touchdown from OBJ. And then we had Kareem Hunt in, who, is finally starting to make his way back in the NFL after being kicked off for the domestic violence accusations. And with the injury of Nick Chubb, obviously he's been needing a bigger role. So it's been interesting to see how he is fit into the Browns' offensive schemes. But the Browns just keep rolling, and we're going to see until they finally get their second loss. But it's amazing that, after so long, maybe the Browns can finally have success. So those are the headlines for Week 5 in the NFL. A lot to unfold, but I think there's a really interesting stuff. The games were great. A lot of high-scoring games, a lot of big blowouts. Another one I left off, but, something that needs to take note, we discussed further for all your 49ers fans, is seeing Jimmy G benched after the blowout loss that they had against the Miami Dolphins, where Fitzpatrick went off and threw almost 350 yards in that game. But Jimmy G just not having it after coming back. With CJ Beathard came in for him. So really, what does that mean for Jimmy G? I think it's just coming back off an injury, a slow game. Dolphins always seem to catch teams off guard because they assume it's going to be an easy one, and Fitzpatrick is never just going to lie down. So, when you have that onslaught of offensive production coming from the Dolphins and you're playing from behind against them, it can be tough. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about in the 49er land, but, something to keep an eye on. I think Jimmy G just needs to get his confidence back, and he'll be ready to go. But again, great week of NFL. If we don't have COVID completely wipe out this season, it's going to be an interesting one. A lot of new teams at the top in their divisions. Eagles, again, are slipping, but at least I'm enjoying watching the rest of the teams play. So there is that. But pivoting from football, I want to make sure we cover something that's important to discuss because it finally came to an end. The NBA Finals, we have our new champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James, again, getting his fourth title and his fourth MVP title. He is now first ever to win the Finals MVP with 3 different teams, obviously with Miami, Cleveland, and now Los Angeles Lakers. He did everything he needed to do in order to continue to cement his legacy as one of the greatest players of all time. I know everyone wants to talk about the championships and the kind of list and so on, but really, look at the numbers and what this man's able to accomplish every year in the playoffs. He's now played 260 career playoff games. That's an all-time in games, right? He finally passed Derek Fisher in the most games played in a career for playoff games. He's 16 consecutive All-Star games after starting again this season. He takes his team all the way to the finals. In the last game, he gets himself a triple-double with 28 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting at 65%. And he averaged for the entire series almost 30 points with 29 points per game. 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and 41% from three. So the man almost averaged a triple-double during the finals. He overcame one of his bigger weaknesses in his game, which is a three-point game, and averaged over 41% there. I mean, he did everything this team needed him to do in order to win another title. Granted, again, this is the 17th title for the LA Lakers, and it's been a while since they've been back, but LeBron, it's just incredible to think of what he's able to accomplish every time he gets in the finals. The man's a beast, and to think that he is not being considered at the top with Michael Jordan, I mean, I get it. Michael Jordan won 6. He did a lot of stuff. But LeBron James is 35 right now and playing better than he's played before he got in the league. I mean, he's scoring almost as much points, if not more, in a lot of instances throughout the playoffs than he did when he was in his first few years in the NBA. It just the disdain that people give on LeBron because they're just pure haters is ridiculous, and it needs to stop because the man is absolutely one of the greats of all time. He's a physical freak. He's able to play at such a high level no matter what the situation is. I mean, again, 260 career playoff games. The seasons he's played, he continues to make it to the finals or deep in the playoffs. The man, as for years, played more basketball games than anyone else in the league. And every year he comes back fresh and ready to kill it. It is incredible, and I think we need to continue to show the respect he deserves. And as he asked for it after games, saying he deserves the damn respect. He deserves it for the LA Lakers. I mean, he has done so much. He goes to teams, he builds championship teams, he leads those teams to the finals, and he beats other really great teams because the Miami Heat were not just some chumps out there. They were a great team as well. Jimmy Butler as well almost averaged a triple-double himself in this NBA Finals with 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. 9.8 assists, so really almost had averaged a double-double at least in this Finals. Granted, he didn't show up for Game 6, but that's because he left it all on the floor in Game 5 with a 40-point triple-double. So, you can't just shrug off the Heat. That was a tough series. The Lakers clearly were the more talented team. It's just how it came down to it when you had LeBron James and Anthony Davis and all the little pieces around them. They were a more talented team, but they still had to compete at such a high level because the Heat were for real. They were a for real team. When you had Bam Adebayo in, they actually were able to match up pretty nicely against Anthony Davis. You saw in the 2 games that Bam couldn't play that Anthony Davis was running train over the big man that the Heat put out there and was continuously wreck on the rebounds. When you had Bam in, you had a solid at least, almost 10 rebounds per game from him and able to control the paint. So, unfortunately the Heat were missing him, and in some of those games that could have been kind of the key deciding factor. But, again, the Heat when they were at full force were a really great team. Anthony Davis, again, for the Lakers, came through and showed, why he needed to be the other piece, why it was important to have on the team with LeBron James, able to alleviate some of the pressure from LeBron James' shoulders. He averaged throughout the series 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 3 assists, so a double-double throughout the series. And in Game 6, while he didn't score a lot of points, he still came away with 15 rebounds and 2 blocks. So you needed him throughout to kind of give those small pieces where so LeBron doesn't have to be the best in every single aspect of the game. He was able to take a break when it came to trying to rebound and control the paint. You were allowed to have Anthony Davis give support there. So a lot of support, I would say, was given to LeBron, but he's still able to build that championship mentality and that championship team. So kudos to him. Really an impressive run. I was hoping the Heat could kind of pull off a miracle, but really it's just the supporting cast wasn't there to get them over the finish line. Tyler Hero, only 7 points in Game 6. You needed him to really kind of come alive in order to offset some of the other key pieces on the Lakers. It didn't happen. Through the first 5 games, he was averaging 16.2 points, but you needed what he was able to do against the Bucks and against the Celtics to really come alive in the finals in order to get them the help. Because you saw Jimmy Butler. I mean, after Game 5, he was limping out of his press conference because he is so tired and so sore because of the amount of much heart and skill he's putting out there on the court. He left it all out there, and he, if the other players can't give him a little extra, he's just going to run exhausted, and he's not going to be able to win every single game on his back. Duncan Robinson, another one of those players you needed to be key in order to win these games. It just wasn't there in the last game. I mean, they need 3-point shooting, and Duncan Robinson in Game 5 came alive with that with 54% from 3, which is incredible. 7 3-points made. But in the Game 6, disappeared. And in the other games, really wasn't there. He's coming off the bench. He's a bit of a defensive liability, but you have him there in order to score that offense. And if he's not going to get that offense, you can't have him. So those were the pieces you need. Dragic was injured throughout the last few games, and he was another one that you wanted to have on the court at all times. So when you have like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Dragic isn't there, if they're not showing up, Bam Adebayo's not able to play, it really all relies on Jimmy Butler's shoulders. And he just can't carry it against, 2 behemoths that are LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You just can't. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. He deserved credit. In some ways, I think Jimmy Butler could have been the Finals MVP if he had won, but I think they could have given it to him as well because he played absolutely insane, better than most players out there because he had to do so much. I still can't believe as a Sixers fan that we decided to move on from Jimmy Butler. The man has heart. He has tenacity. He has grit. He's able to just push through no matter what. He's able to break through every wall of exhaustion in order to win a game. The man just is a pit bull after winning games. He's got the winning mentality. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want him on your team. That said, watching the game, I was in awe. I really think the man plays with his heart on his sleeve. It's just he will not stop. The intensity is at all times at level 10. It really was an incredible game. I love watching him. I hope to see more of him in the finals in the next few years. I think the Heat are going to be a really great team for years to come as Tyler Hero develops into an all-star, as Bam continues to get better and better in the middle of the paint. If Dragic can stay healthy, we'll see, but you're probably going to move him and try and get a more younger talent to play that spot. Maybe Hero rolls in and takes Dragic's position. Duncan Robinson, man, get to the gym, practice your defense. If you can be good on defense and not be a liability and bring that three-point shooting, the Heat are going to be deadly because they can be a three-point shooting team. And with the coaching of Eric Spoelstra, I don't see why they can't go further. But man, the haters of LeBron need to just be silenced because it is what this man is able to accomplish is above, it's just the history of the NBA will look at LeBron as just one of the greatest of all time. And when it's silly to try and make these comparisons, you don't have to say, is he better than Michael Jordan? He is a different beast. Michael Jordan played a different game. LeBron James plays a different game and has accomplished different things. LeBron has been able to go around to different teams and bring them to the promised land, to bring them championships. To ignore the sheer awesomeness of that is just, it's blasphemy of the game. Like you can't, it's unfair. It just shows you're a hater. You're not really able to appreciate greatness in this game. Just enjoy it. Enjoy what you're seeing. Enjoy the fact that during your lifetime, you get to see a player like LeBron James. You get to see him accomplish what he accomplishes. I mean, he really is a spectacle to behold. And something we should cherish. We should cherish for as long as he's in this league, as long as he's playing this game, we need to cherish what is LeBron James and what he is able to do with all these teams. And we'll see if he's able to come back to the finals next year with Anthony Davis. I'm sure they're already betting favorites to get there. If they keep this team together, nothing can really stop them. So it was absolutely amazing. And I really loved it. I loved every second of it. So hopefully we get another rematch next year and it's as intense and as good basketball. But incredible. Good job to the NBA for pulling this off during COVID. Good job to all the players sticking to the rules of the bubble and making sure there were no outbreaks and making sure that we could watch the entire NBA playoffs and the finals for all the fans out there. It was really a blessing. So good job to them. They deserve a round of applause. And, other leagues, take note. I mean, the NBA made it work during COVID. They showed you how it can get done. All the other leagues got to try and take the cross. Right now, the NFL is getting screwed with it. So, I don't know, dude. And the MLB, luckily, is safe because they're staying now in regular stadiums, not really moving around. But the NBA did it right, and they did it really well. Finally, we're going to end this show discussing on the Eagles-Steelers. So, we have to discuss, obviously, my team. We'll go through Week 5 and how it went. But really, the Eagles had a chance. I think the attitude mostly today is that we kind of expected them to lose against the Steelers, so we're happy with what we saw out there on the field. I think the Philadelphia Eagles started off very slow. It was tough for them to get going. They didn't really get a lot of offensive production from Wentz early on, but then things started clicking, especially with Travis Fulgham. Carson Wentz finally has, now it seems, a wide receiver he trusts. You could see that he was letting the ball go earlier because he could believe that Fulgham would be open. He believed that Fulgham would fight for the ball, and he finally had those wide receivers that he could, get into open positions and succeed with. Fulgham, 152 yards, 1 touchdown with 10 receptions. Insane. He went off, and Carson Wentz was finding him all over the field, and even for a beautiful touchdown. In fact, for me, I was really promised to see this because Carson Wentz looked way better. I mean, the first interception he gave up is a little bit iffy because from my perspective, that was on Ertz. I know it's not Ertz's fault, but he ran into the cornerback. He didn't get in position. It's a timing throw. Wentz tried to throw it, believing Ertz was going to be there. Ertz gets hits and kind of stops. You see him put his hand up and stop because he kind of feels like he's getting bumped. He can't do that. He has to fight through that contact in order to get the ball and make sure it doesn't fall into defensive hands, because you're not going to get that defensive pass interference call every time. It's just not going to happen. You're close to the line of scrimmage. It's a slant route. There's going to be some bodies bumping. You have to be able to fight through. So in my opinion, I thought Ertz could have done a better job. Should have Wentz let go of the ball? I don't know. He trusted his tight end to be there. It wasn't, so I'm not going to hold that interception against him. The second interception, I'm also not holding against Wentz because it was late in the game. After we'll discuss it, the defense gave up the game for the Eagles. But, he's trying to go deep. It basically turned into a punt. He's just going, Hail Mary attempt on 4th and 20. So we can't hold against him. But again, 35 attempts, 57% completion, but 258 yards. He really 2 touchdowns. He played a hell of a game. I was very impressed. I feel like now that we're seeing Fulgham and him kind of meshing together, allow Ertz, who's going to get double coverage, have him come there. You get maybe Rager back healthy, as well as maybe Alshon Jeffrey at a certain point. And now I think you can start seeing Wentz really get into his own and playing the game. The play calling was a little better. Miles Sanders had 80 yards on 11 rushes. I still don't understand why they weren't running more. I think it has a lot to do with the Steelers having a prolific run defense. But at the same time, I thought we could have gotten the ball more to Sanders. He only had 2 receptions for 19 yards. So even if the Steelers are playing great in the rush game, let's try and get some more screens out there. I mean, Wentz was under pressure the entire game. He was sacked 5 times, and 2 of those sacks were blindsided, sacks coming in from Bud Dupree, especially at the end of the game and the final drive, as well as earlier in the game. TJ Watt was a menace on the right side of the offensive line. It just, they didn't seem to have really the cohesiveness they needed. I think they played pretty well considering they're almost all backups. We even lost Lane Johnson later in the game, which is another storyline to keep in mind. But, with that weak offensive line, I'm impressed that Carson Wentz didn't get hit more. But the fact he was able to deliver some dimes in this game while constantly under pressure is impressive. So I want to, think that we can see Wentz continue to grow from this game, get better. I think that there is definitely a higher opportunity. But the real issue is that Wentz, I thought, played a great game on offense. I thought the offense was clicking. I thought, Sanders had a great run, obviously, earlier in the game. But the play calling, again, gets suspect at the end of the game. I don't understand what Doug Pearson is doing, and I don't understand what Schwartz is doing with that defense. All right, Chase Claypool, the wide receiver for the Steelers, had 4 touchdowns that game. He's the one that ends up scoring the touchdown that would make it a 38-29 game. Don't forget, the Steelers were 3rd and 8. It was 31-29. They only had a 2-point lead. We had just missed a field goal by Jake Elliott for 57 yards. Also a little suspect of a choice. I'm okay with it because it's 57 yards. I think that's within Jake Elliott's wheelhouse. But I also believe that in that opportunity, you could have maybe gone for 4th and 5, or at least try and punt and pin them down. To me, I think you need to punt and trust your defense to hold them there, and you'll get the ball back. If you're going forward in that position, kicking means you don't trust your defense. Not saying you should, but you're not sending a really strong message to your defense that you trust that they are able to get it done. Because, again, maybe you punt, you pin them down there, you have plenty of time, you have timeouts. You try and hold the Steelers to low in the field, or at least try and hold them to, punt and get your team to get over there. I think that would have been the better situation. Instead, they go for the field goal. Jake Elliott misses. The Steelers get it more on, close to the midfield of the, of their side of the field. They move down. It's 3rd and 8. The defense has a chance to stop them here, get them off the field, at least hold them just to a field goal. Claypool is wide open down the middle of the field and scores a touchdown. And what is the response from Doug Pearson when asked, did Schwartz make a mistake? Should they have called a timeout when they saw that there was a linebacker, Nathan Gary, one-on-one against Claypool, who has already had 3 touchdowns and burning cornerbacks? And instead of calling a timeout and trying to fix the situation, allowing that to unfold, Peterson says, I'll see the film. And I don't know. It was just a great play by Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know. It's just a great play by the wide receivers. Just a great play. No. In that situation, Doug, you need to be accountable. You are the head coach. You need to be talking to Schwartz. You need to be communicating, just recognizing the insanity that's on the field. Why? How on earth was Nathan Gary supposed to be manned up against Claypool? How does that make sense in any universe? Schwartz is supposed to be this elite defensive coordinator, yet all I see is an overrated coach year after year after year. In the Super Bowl, he gave up almost 600 yards to Tom Brady. Even today, he's continued to give up yards to every quarterback. He gave up 289 yards to Ben Roethlisberger. He gave 4 touchdowns to just 1 wide receiver. I mean, how did you not scheme later in the game to cover Claypool? How does that not happen? You know he's going off. Why don't you try and slow him down at all. They couldn't stop the screen game. They couldn't stop the jet sweeps. They couldn't stop any of the deep balls. It was insane. The Steelers were completing every third down play, and Ben didn't miss one pass on third down. There's just terrible defensive scheming here. I get it. There's also not great talent, but why is Claypool just being left alone in the middle of the field with Nathan Gary? Nathan Gary was not even close to him when he caught the ball. And there was no safety help. I mean, it's just, there's so much wrong in that play. Again, Wentz has taken this team down. They've done great. They finally get it close to win this game. They're within 2 points, and the defense doesn't get it done. That's when the defense needs to stand up. And Schwartz, again, has let this team down. And I do not understand why he's allowed to continue to coach this defense. I do not understand why Doug Peterson does not hold him accountable, or why Doug Peterson does not make actual head coaching decisions on this team. But for whatever reason, the defense let their offense down. That's what it comes down to. Because then you have the next drive, you have like a little under 3 minutes, like 2:20 minutes. You now have to score twice. So the offense, and of course Doug Pearson does this, draws up just constant deep throws, which Wentz missed a couple and got sacked on. So he's already deep in the pocket. The first one, oh my God. The blindsided sack by Dupree was insane. And again, Mailata just didn't have a shot. And you have a weak line, and you're setting that up. You know they're coming for you. I don't know why Doug wasn't setting up a screen or setting up some type of dump down underneath. Instead, he has to go all out for it. It then eventually sets up for a 4th and 20, which you have to go for. And Carson Wentz throws an interception, trying to just throw deep and just hope a Hail Mary situation happens. I don't blame Wentz in that situation because it's impossible. You have to get 2 scores. It's very unlikely you're going to win. So you can't be methodical. You have to start and make big chunk plays, and they just don't have the weapons for that. It's a shame, but that's what it came down to. So really, the defense let them down, because even if they hold it to a field goal, that's only a 1-score game you need. If you can get a turnover, even better. I don't understand what is going on that side of the ball. Like, I think our defensive line is great. They're applying pressure to the quarterback. They're getting the quarterback consistently. Our secondary has one cornerback we know can play man, and Schwartz continues to leave these cornerbacks that do not have the speed, do not have the athleticism to stay with players, and he's continuing to leave them in man coverage. It's insane. Mills got burned several times, and we had to move him back to cornerback. I don't know how Mills has a job in this league. It's mind-boggling. But again, Nathan Gary is supposed to play man coverage on Claypool, and Claypool breaks free and gets a touchdown. Like, that is all on the defense in that situation. I just can't understand what goes through Doug Peterson's head when he's running this kind of play. It makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. It's frustrating as hell too. It's really frustrating. I just, again, we kind of expected the Eagles to lose, so it's not that heartbreaking. But all in all, we really hoped that they could pull it off. It was a very close game, and in the end, it just took one defensive stop, and they couldn't get it done. However, let's look to the future. I think that this still is a bad division. I still think the Eagles can make the playoffs. I think that, they're 1-3-1 right now. I think the offense is starting to click. I think if the defense can get their act together, Schwartz can actually call a good game. Maybe we get some wins later on the road. I mean, we're going to be playing some tough teams, so there's going to be a lot of losses. But hopefully when we play our division, we can get some wins here and there and, hold on to first place and make the playoffs. I mean, we're not going far at that point, but, who knows? Fulgham is a great story, though. Eagles get lucky again with some talent. Greg Ward and Fulgham making some great catches with some dime throws from Wentz. But, again, this is the front office getting lucky with wide receivers and not drafting. I mean, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who was the high draft pick for the wide receiver, nowhere to be seen. And all these no-name scrubs off the street are basically burning him and killing him. I mean, if that's not an indictment of the front office and their ability to draft and find wide receiver talent, I don't know what is. Because they're just getting lucky at this point. Doug Peterson doesn't even recognize the talent out there. I mean, Doug Peterson got lucky that Fulgham made a pass last week and then has to be in this game because of injuries. Doug Peterson didn't recognize this talent in the training camps. None of them saw this. So where's that talent evaluation? I mean, if this is supposed to be a great talent evaluation team, where's that? Why wasn't Fulgham starting to begin with? It's insane. Like, we're lucky they fell into our lap, but at the same time, how did we not use this to say what the hell is going on in the front office? What the hell is going on with Doug and this team? It's totally frustrating. But again, a lot more football to play, a lot more games to come. I mean, yeah, this was an awesome weekend. It was amazing. French Open, Nadal wins 13th ever French Open title, tying Roger Federer for the most Grand Slam titles. We saw the NBA Finals finally come to an end. It was great. We saw a lot of great football games, a lot of high-scoring games, a lot of question marks, a lot of sad moments, obviously with Dak Prescott's injury, but a lot of big headlines. So we'll see. And the football continues to go on. We got Monday night games tonight, and then we got Tuesday night games tomorrow. So a lot of football still to go, and we'll see how it all unfolds. But it's been a fun one. It's been a great weekend. I want to wish everyone, all of my Canadian friends, a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all have a wonderful day with family and friends if you can be with them during COVID. Otherwise, hope you're staying safe and healthy. Be thankful that you have your health during this time. I want to thank everyone for continuing to listen to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to put these together and continue to post and chat with all the great sports fans out there. But until next time, we're going to take a break, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good evening, and good night. Thank you for listening to the ChadBurn Show. Remember to check out all new episodes every Monday at 7 p.m. on Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all major platforms where you listen to your podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me and you want to send in your questions or requests for topics to discuss in the show, you can email chadburn.show@gmail.com. All episodes have video recorded, which is then posted to our YouTube channel, The ChadBurn Show. Be sure to subscribe to us where you get your podcasts or on our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all our new content. You can also follow the show on Instagram at ChadBurn Show and on Facebook, The ChadBurn Show, to see clips from previously recorded episodes and information on all upcoming shows.